Negative gearing, the tax strategy that built more Australian millionaires than almost anything else, is being killed off. In the May 2026 budget, the government announced the biggest change to property tax in a generation, and most Australians have no idea how much it affects them. But here's the twist nobody's talking about. If you already own an investment property, you might have just gotten incredibly lucky. And if you were planning to buy one, the rules you thought you understood are gone. I'm going to break down exactly what changed, who wins, who loses, and what to do about it, with real 2026 numbers. Let's go. First, quickly, what negative gearing actually is, because you need this to understand what changed. Negative gearing happens when the cost of owning an investment property, mainly the loan interest, is more than the rent it brings in, so the property runs at a loss each year. Under the old rules, you could take that loss and deduct it against your salary. So a high earner losing $10,000 a year on a property could knock that $10,000 off their taxable income, getting thousands back at tax time. The taxpayer effectively subsidized part of the investment. That's why negative gearing was so powerful and so popular. The average negatively geared investor in the top tax bracket was claiming losses of over $14,000 a year. That entire strategy, the one Australians have used for 40 years, was just dismantled. Here's exactly what changed. On the 12th of May 2026, the government announced that from the 1st of July 2027, negative gearing on established residential properties will essentially be abolished. If you buy an established home, meaning an existing, already built property, after budget night, you can no longer deduct those rental losses against your salary. The loss doesn't vanish, but it gets quarantined. You can only use it against future rental income or against the capital gain when you eventually sell. So instead of getting your tax benefit every year, you now have to wait, potentially years, until you sell to actually use it. It went from an annual refund to an IOU. But, and this is critical, new builds are completely exempt. If you buy a brand new property, you keep full negative gearing and the 50% capital gains discount, exactly like before. The whole point is to push investors toward building new housing, instead of competing for existing homes. And there's a second change. From the same date, the 50% capital gains tax discount is being replaced with an inflation-based system and a 30% minimum tax on gains. We'll come back to why that matters. So who actually wins? And who loses from all this? The answer surprised me, because it's not who the headlines say. Quick recap, negative gearing on established homes bought after budget night is gone. Losses get quarantined until you sell. New builds keep the old perks. And the capital gains discount is being replaced. Now, the part that actually affects you. Let's talk about who this actually helps and who it hurts. And it's not what the headlines told you. Winner number one. If you already owned an investment property before budget night, you were grandfathered. The old rules apply to you indefinitely until you sell. You keep full negative gearing. You essentially got in just before the door closed. Your property may even become more valuable because fewer new investors can compete the way you did. Winner number two, in theory, first home buyers. With fewer investors competing for established homes, the government hopes prices cool slightly, giving first home buyers a better shot. But here's the part nobody tells you. Everyone assumes this is a tax on the rich. It's not. Wealthy investors often have positive cash flow. Their properties make money, so they were never relying on negative gearing anyway. The people who actually used negative gearing hardest were middle-income Australians, teachers, nurses, tradies, using one investment property and a salary deduction to slowly build wealth. They're the ones who lose this tool. The genuinely rich barely feel it. So the loser isn't the property mogul. It's the everyday Australian who was about to buy their first investment property using the exact strategy that's now gone. Which leads to the real question. If you still want to build wealth through investing in 2026, What do you actually do now? 3 clear options. Option 1. If you already own a negatively geared property, do not panic sell. You're grandfathered, you keep the old rules. But do review on whether the property still makes sense long term. Being grandfathered isn't a reason to hold a bad investment forever. Run the numbers with an accountant. Option 2. If you still want property exposure and new builds, keep the full tax benefits. But be careful. New builds are expensive to construct right now, and you have to make sure the tax perk isn't the only reason the deal works. A bad property with a tax break is still a bad property. Option 3, and this is the big mindset shift. In a world without easy negative gearing, the smart money moves toward cash flow positive investments, assets that put money in your pocket every month, instead of losing money for a tax break. Which brings us to something most property investors are completely overlooking right now. Here's what the property crowd is missing. Negative gearing still exists for shares. If you borrow to invest in shares, and the interest costs more than your dividends, that loss is still fully deductible against your salary, exactly like property used to be. The budget didn't touch it. For some investors, borrowing to invest in quality Australian shares is now more tax effective than buying an established rental property. That would have sounded crazy 2 years ago. Now, before you do anything, there's one mistake I need to make sure you don't make, because it could cost you the most of all. The biggest mistake right now, rushing to buy an established investment property before the 1st of July 2027, just to lock in negative gearing before it disappears. Buying a property for the tax break alone is exactly how people end up with a bad investment. The tax tail should never wag the investment dog. A property has to stack up on its own. Good location, solid yield, real growth potential, before any tax benefit even enters the equation. And remember, these changes are announced but not yet law. They're intended to start the 1st of July 2027, so you have time to plan properly, not panic, at the start. I promised you'd know exactly what this means for you, so here it is, simply. Already own one? You're fine. Want property? Think new builds. Want the easiest path? Consider cash flow, positive assets, and shares. And whatever you do, never buy just for the tax break. So that's the negative gearing shakeup of 2026 in plain English. Established property bought after budget night loses the salary deduction. Existing owners are grandfathered. New builds keep the perks. Shares were untouched. And never ever buy just for a tax break. Here's your challenge. In the next 24 hours, if you own or are planning to buy an investment property, book a quick chat with your accountant about how these changes affect your specific situation. Then drop a comment telling me, are you a winner or a loser under the new rules? I read and reply to every single one. If this made the changes finally that make sense, subscribe. Next week, we're tackling how to save your first $10,000 in 2026, even with the cost of living the way it is. See you then.